Good morning. Really great to see you all here. My name is Mel Foote. I'm the president of the Constituency for Africa. We are a small 501c3 advocacy organization. Our mission is to educate Americans about Africa, improve cooperation and coordination among organizations that work on African issues, and we work to shape U.S. policy on Africa in a off-centered kind of way. But we are very much involved in the trade bill. We were involved in HIV/AIDS, and we are involved in peace and security. Let me say it's great to be here at the ACSS here on the Fort McNair. It's a wonderful institution to be working with. The information side of it is great. we all know each other, and so we came together because we want to focus on the challenges of the Sahel region, And so we wanted to hear from the ambassadors. We wanted to hear from experts on this, and they're all in the room. This is a fantastic group here today. But this is 1 week of activity. This is our first official activity of the series. We had a big event on the weekend in Cambridge, Maryland, believe it or not. And so for the rest of the week, we're going to be doing various seminars on topics germane to Africa. But I just want to say it's a real pleasure being here. We're really appreciative of the ACSS, and we're really looking forward to hearing what our diplomats from the Sahel region have to say about the issues of peace and security, and how we as Americans can better help you. How can we better assist to stabilize the region, but also to promote economic development and self-sufficiency. So thank you very much for coming. Let me call on Chic Dambach. Chic is an old friend of mine. We've done a lot of things in Africa together, everything around peace building, and his passion is to promote peace and security in the world. And so wonderful. He's going to moderate the session with the African diplomats. So we're looking forward to hearing from you. So take it away.
Let me introduce the ambassadors. I'll just introduce them. As I introduce them, they can come up. And I've got your names on seats up here. So we'll begin with the ambassador from Burkina Faso, His Excellency Seydou Kabore. And ambassador from Chad, His Excellency Ngote Gali Koutou. My good friend from Mali is Second Counselor Ibrahim Biridogo. Ibrahim, the ambassador was going to be here, but he got called back to Bamako to meet with the president, so Ibrahim is here to represent him. Thank you. Ambassador from Mauritania, His Excellency Samba, Mamadou. And from the Embassy of Niger, His Excellency Abdallah Wafy. So with that, we've asked each of the ambassadors to make a brief opening comments, and we'll just start to my left, your right, and we'll just work down. So Ambassador Kabore, will you please begin? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm very happy to be here among you to discuss about our huge concern related to the insecurity in our region. But first of all, I would like to thank African Center for Strategic Studies, Constitution for Africa, to have invited us here. And I would also to thank all the entities here. So, as I'm talking as the representative of the group of G5 Sahel ambassadors, I've been committed to present the topic, and after that, I think that each one could add some view. So, for me, the quest for peace and security in the Sahel region, including Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Chad, and Burkina Faso, requires addressing the causes of instability. So I would like to present three parts. The first one will concern the origin and causes of the insecurity. The second one will present some possible answer to the situation. And the last one will concern the constraint and perspective. So everybody reminded that the destabilization of Libya in 2011 has conducted the apparition of several small and uncontrolled armed groups and the proliferation of trafficking and weapons in our sub-region. The Tuareg, who represented a part of Gaddafi armies, returned to their home countries, Niger and Mali. In the latter country, this wake up and amplified in 2012 the latent Tuareg question of independence and creation of a Tuareg state comprising Kidal, Timbuktu, and Gao, nearly half of Mali. The national movement for liberation of Azawad, MNLA, supported by various Islamic and terrorist groups, led the front against government forces. Because of the borders porosity of the area, terrorist gangrene took root and affected the countries like Burkina Faso, where any ethnic and intelligent conflict existed. In Burkina Faso, terrorism became embedded in 2015, following the popular uprising of October 2014 that saw the departure of the old regime in power for 27 years. In fact, the former regime had strong relationship with terrorist faction, mainly the group to support Islam and Muslim, GSIM, of Iyad Gali, and based on that, they were specialized in conflict resolution, Malian and Ivorian, for instance, and the repatriation of hostages after the abduction. It seems like there is a relentless against Burkina Faso to recover a lost paradise, while the struggle of the people has targeted the aspiration for freedom and democracy. In addition to that, some socio-economic factors favor the host situation. The terrorist penetration was made in Burkina by the north and east of the country, where the borders are porous. And because of the non-existence of the state, the population of those abandoned areas is characterized by poverty, illiteracy, ignorance, and unemployment. As a result, all types of trafficking, such as cigarettes, drugs, weapons, gold, formerly initiated by road cutters who became terrorists, proliferate and constitute in some areas the most promising activity for people who had lost hope. So roughly speaking, we can say that terrorism is leading to paralyzing insecurity due to attacks, assassination, kidnapping, and entire community conflict. In terms of statistics, there are more than 500 dead, 300,000 displaced, more than 1,600 closed schools, 400,000 abandoned students, health centers destroyed or abandoned, and many thousands of civil servants fleeing their workplace. At the financial level, the reorientation of state resources towards security-related sectors to the detriment of development sectors, such as education, production, health, etc. So, as I'm concerned, I would like here to present some possible response to this whole situation. I think the first proposition concerns the security responses. The main security response will be to reinforce the operational, military, and security capabilities of each state of the zone. Major efforts are underway in our countries in terms of equipment and new soldier recruitment. So this is the place for me to welcome the very good partnership between the United States and the G-5 Sahel group, and sincerely thank American people and administration for the understanding and commensurate support. So thank you to you all. Another answer must be to set up and strengthen the National Security Council in our states, integrated civil and military intelligence. Burkina Faso has launched last year the High Council of National Defense Activities, and consultations are nowadays on the way to draw a new vision and operational strategies for security matters. So the mutualization of the operational capabilities of the concerned countries is also an alternative. The G5 Sahel, created in 2016 on this purpose, was created in this purpose, but unfortunately, its results on the ground remains mixed because of its weak management rules and principles diversely appreciated. So the development-based responses, we can consider that there is a huge gap of basic socio-economic investment to fill, such as schools, health centers, etc. In addition to those basic investments, state will benefit from promoting the opening up of the region with good quality of roads to promote in any season the flow of products from the production areas to the markets. Furthermore, financial micro projects for the setting of young people and the employability of women according to each region's comparative advantage would help to insert fragile people to the economic system and give them hope. In June 2017, the Burkina Faso government launched an emergency program for the Sahel with the aim of implementing socio-economic and security infrastructure projects and improving administration and local governance. On an initial program of about $890 million over 5 years, $153 million were invested in 2017 and 187 million in 2018. And we can say that population seems grateful. Thanks to the first conclusive result, international donors are joining the program. They decided to support the government for the program expansion to other regions and its sustainability so that from now on, no community will be forgotten in the struggle for emancipation and development. The US is actively participating through the USAID. Thank you again. So at the political level, we have like 3 propositions. Outside the Sahel zone, it will be necessary to find a definitive solution to the Libyan crisis by pacifying this country and restoring the institution. At the last G7 summit held in Biarritz, France, the G7 countries and the African Union supported a joint text pleading for a truce and calling for an inter-Libyan conference. In our turbulent zone, and particularly in Mali, the Tuareg issue will have to be definitely settled in accordance with the Algiers Agreement signed in May and June 2015. At the level of different states of the Sahel, political and economic governance will have to be strengthened for greater transparency and efficiency. The issue of human rights must be shared with the general population to make it a cardinal value of living together. In terms of the legal environment, mutual legal assistance between states must be strengthened to better track terrorists and ensure the extradition. So in terms of constraint and process, we can say that the lack of common vision and strategy accepted by all, the shortage of financial and mental resources to combat terrorism, and the slow start of the recovery of the economic of fragile areas are serious constraints in the search for peace and security in Sahel. On the other hand, the clear will of the terrorists driven out of Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, etc., to transform the Sahel into fertile ground for recruitment and make it a headquarters to target some countries in the Gulf of Guinea, like Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Benin, Togo, constitutes an aggravation factor. In order to reduce the causes that led to insecurity in the Sahel and to remove the aforementioned constraint, various action will be required. More effective international consultation with a view to harmonizing approaches and strategy. Stronger commitment from African states, especially those of ECOWAS, which are planning to meet on the 14th of this month in Ouagadougou. Improvement of governance in our 5 countries. Strengthening women's leadership and their participation in peace process and security organization. To end, I would like to ask those who are listening to us and our partners and allies to help leave the crossroad where we feel to be torn between continuing the struggle or opening the dialogue with terrorists. As I'm concerned, the fight for peace and security in the Sahel must be conducted with dignity and rigor to save freedom and democracy and to promote the legal aspiration of people to an emancipated and hopeful life under the decision makers' accountability. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I apologize to have been long, but it's because I think that in my role, I have to give more detail because our discussion is based on, I think that the information we will provide to you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, if you could pass the microphone down here. Thank you very much. We move on to the Ambassador of Chad.
Mesdames, Messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen,
je voudrais d'abord dire bonjour à tout le monde
I'd like to say hello to everyone
et joindre ma voix à celle de l'ambassadeur de Burkina
and to express my pleasure along with my
qui a
colleague
déjà
from Burkina,
parlé en notre nom pour donner un aperçu global
who already gave us a general overview
de la région du Sahel et des problèmes qui s'y posent.
of the Sahel region and of the problems that it faces.
Ceci étant dit, je ne vais pas être très long.
I'm going to be brief.
Je fais mienne tout ce qu'il a déjà dit
I agree with almost everything he said.
et revenir sur un certain nombre de points.
I want to return to a few of the points that he made.
Le Sahel, comme il a dit tout à l'heure, est confronté à un certain nombre de difficultés.
The Sahel, as he already mentioned, is confronted with a certain number of challenges.
Mais il faut déjà dire que le Sahel est une région fragile.
The Sahel is a fragile region.
D'abord, il est confronté à plusieurs défis, dont le défi même naturel,
It also faces some natural challenges.
parce que c'est une région désertique ou semi-désertique
The desert or semi-desert
et
region,
qui est soumise aux forces hostiles de la nature.
and it faces nature's hostile forces.
Le deuxième défi est celui donc du développement et du mieux-être social, du mieux-être social.
The second challenge is one of development and
Et
social well-being.
une région pauvre où un certain nombre d'infrastructures de base manquent dans certaines parties des différents pays.
And several basic infrastructure is lacking across the country and the region.
Nul n'ignore que le manque de développement,
The lack of
plutôt
development
la précarité,
and
constitue un
fragility.
terreau fertile pour le terrorisme.
Lack of development and fragility are can be sources of terrorism.
Le défi également, il est confronté au défi sécuritaire.
There are also security challenges,
Et je crois que c'est cet aspect-là qui apparaît le plus aux yeux du monde.
and this security challenge is the one that seems most acute
Parce que
to the rest of the
l'espace du
world.
Sahel est aujourd'hui envahi par les terroristes, les djihadistes, autres narcotrafiquants,
The Sahel is currently threatened by terrorists and other violent extremists and other
et
trafficking.
autres bandits de grand chemin qui essayent donc de les tirer chaque jour vers les ténèbres.
and other bandits that try and pull it towards hell every day.
Il y a donc l'aspect terrorisme, développement du terrorisme, mais ces derniers temps, il y a un nouvel élément qui prend de l'ampleur en ce qui concerne donc les conflits intercommunautaires.
There's a new element now of intercommunal conflict as well.
Ces conflits intercommunautaires ne sont pas nouveaux
These intercommunal conflicts are not new
parce qu'ils résultent de la compétition de l'agriculture et de l'élevage sur un espace restreint de pâturage ou de culture.
They result from a competition between farmers and herders for limited space for agriculture and for herding.
Et ces conflits ont toujours connu des solutions plus ou moins heureuses par le passé.
And in the past, these conflicts were peacefully resolved,
Parfois au niveau de communautés de base,
sometimes at the very basic community level.
mais ils ont pris de l'ampleur ces derniers temps parce qu'il y a une circulation anarchique des armes de guerre en provenance de la Libye.
But the conflicts have worsened recently as a result of the trafficking of weapons that came from Libya.
C'est ainsi que ces conflits prennent une allure beaucoup plus guerrière et plus meurtrière.
So these conflicts are now much more warlike and much more deadly.
Il y a également donc un autre défi qui est peut-être au niveau des générations.
There's also another challenge at the generational level between generations.
Aujourd'hui, le Sahel
Today, the Sahel
regorge des jeunes,
is
ouais,
very
plus
young.
majoritairement des jeunes,
The majority of the population is young.
qui aujourd'hui sont au chômage,
They're unemployed.
peut-être ne voient pas rapidement des perspectives pour leur avenir
And they don't really see things in their future.
et qui sont donc soumis aux tentations de toutes sortes,
And they're therefore tempted by all kinds of different things,
notamment l'attrait de la migration clandestine vers l'Occident,
including migration towards the
avec
West,
cette hécatombe en Méditerranée que nous déplorons tous les jours.
and including the deadly Mediterranean crossing that we deplore every day.
Ils sont également tentés par l'appel donc des terroristes et des djihadistes
They can also be tempted by the call of terrorism and jihadism,
et par l'attrait du trafic de stupéfiants et autres drogues.
and also trafficking of drugs and other.
Donc c'est pour faire face à tout cela
To face all these challenges,
que les pays membres du Sahel
the member states of the Sahel
ont décidé de mutualiser leurs forces,
have decided to gather their forces,
leurs moyens de défense
their defense means,
à travers ce qu'on appelle le G-5 Sahel que l'ambassadeur de Burkina vient de décrire.
through the G-5 Sahel Joint Force that the ambassador of Burkina Faso just detailed.
Mais comme chacun le sait, tous ces défis appellent une approche
As everyone knows, all of these challenges call
Global.
for a certain approach, a global approach,
qui porte à la fois
which will include
sur le développement et sur la sécurité.
both security and development.
C'est sur ces deux terrains que la réponse doit être apportée.
And it's on both of these fields that the response must be organized.
Aujourd'hui, les priorités sont connues,
The priorities are known today,
tant pour le volet développement que pour celui de la lutte contre le terrorisme.
both on the development side as well as on the fight against terrorism one.
Ce qui manque, c'est le financement.
But we are lacking financing.
Ce qui manque, c'est l'action concrète sur le terrain.
Concrete action is also lacking on the field.
S'agissant par exemple du déploiement et de la montée en puissance des forces du G5 Sahel,
For example, when it comes to the deployment on the ground of the forces of the
les besoins sont identifiés
The needs have been identified,
et n'attendent que le financement.
and we only lack financing.
Les faiblesses constatées dans le déploiement des forces du G5 Sahel
The weaknesses noticed in the actual deployment of the Joint
sont
Five
dues à l'inadéquation entre les besoins réels et l'allocation des ressources.
are due to the gap between the real needs and the allocation of resources.
S'agissant de la question de développement,
On the development side,
je voudrais rappeler que dans le cadre des programmes d'investissement prioritaires,
within the frame of priority investments,
des projets sont déjà élaborés au niveau des États membres
several projects have already been conceived by the member states of the
et du
G5,
secrétariat permanent du G5 Sahel.
as well as the permanent secretariat of the G5 Sahel.
Des besoins sont donc plus qu'urgents dans le domaine de l'eau potable,
So, for example, the needs are there in the area of
Energy.
water,
de l'énergie,
energy,
de l'éducation,
education,
l'autonomisation des femmes,
the women's rights,
l'entrepreneuriat et l'emploi des jeunes
youth employment,
et le renforcement de la microfinance.
and microfinance.
Prendre en charge les projets initiés par les collectivités de base.
All of these are required for communities to implement projects.
J'aimerais aussi souligner que le Sahel est aujourd'hui à un moment crucial de la lutte qu'il mène contre le terrorisme.
Today, the Sahel is at a crucial point in its fight against terrorism.
Ce moment est déterminant au regard de l'élargissement géographique de la zone d'insécurité.
So this is a key moment, given the increased size of the security zone.
Aujourd'hui, le Niger, le Burkina et le Bénin sont atteints.
Niger, Benin, and Burkina have been hit,
La région du lac Tchad
as well as the
connaît
region
aussi
of
les attaques
Chad.
récurrentes de Boko Haram.
That region suffers from the attacks of Boko
Il faut
Haram,
le rappeler, est affilié au Daesh.
which also is affiliated with Daesh.
Demain, c'est d'autres pays qui seront attaqués.
And tomorrow, other countries may be attacked as well.
Et il y aura donc un embrasement peut-être total du golfe de Guinée.
So this could lead to an explosion of conflict in the Gulf of Guinea.
Ce n'est un secret pour personne.
Not a secret to anyone
Une guerre peut être perdue
that a
par
war
une
can-
simple indécision
that a war can be lost only through indecision.
ou être gagnée par une réponse adéquate au moment précis.
Pardon, je peux répéter ce dernier?
La guerre peut être gagnée
Oui.
par une riposte adéquate au moment précis.
Or alternatively, the war can be won by an adequate response at the right time.
L'expansion du terrorisme et donc la déstabilisation du Sahel
The expansion of terrorism and the destabilization of the Sahel
sera à coup sûr un arrêt au progrès remarquable fait par les pays membres du Sahel
would really put a stop to the remarkable progress made by countries across
dans
the
le renforcement de la démocratie,
especially in the area of reinforcing democracy,
le respect des droits de l'homme,
respect for human rights,
l'implication des femmes dans les circuits économiques et la gouvernance politique,
the involvement of women in political and economic life,
les valeurs de liberté et de dignité humaine,
the values of liberty and human dignity,
les valeurs de bonne gouvernance,
of good governance,
le libéralisme économique,
liberal economics,
le libéralisme économique,
liberal economics,
pour ne citer que ceux-là seront à jamais bafoués et supprimés.
all of these will suffer and may completely disappear.
Les exemples récents de l'Irak et de la Syrie sous Daesh
The recent examples of Iraq and Syria under
sont
ISIL
là pour nous rappeler les barbaries djihadistes.
really can make us remember the barbaric acts that can
Je vais
occur.
donc clôturer mes propos
I'd like to end my,
par un appel pressant en direction des États-Unis d'Amérique,
with a pressing call towards the United States of America,
aux autres partenaires multilatéraux et bilatéraux,
as well as to other multilateral and bilateral partners,
pour se mobiliser davantage autour du G5 Sahel
mobilize more strongly towards the G5 Sahel countries
afin de circonscrire le terrorisme et le défaire
to stem and defeat terrorism
avant qu'il ne déstabilise d'autres sous-régions de l'Afrique.
before it further destabilizes other subregions on the continent.
Il faut agir donc de façon appropriée
We must therefore act in appropriate fashion
avant que l'irréparable ne se produise.
before something that cannot be fixed.
Les quelques mots que je voudrais ajouter,
I'd also like to add a few
la
words.
présentation globale déjà faite par l'ambassadeur de Burkina. Je vous remercie.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very informative, and appreciate the challenge at the end. Let's hope we can get a response to it. Moving right along to our friend from Mali, the second counselor, Ibrahim Biridogo.
Hello. Good morning. My English is not very good, but I can to try. It is a great pleasure for me to join Their Excellencies to share our perspective on strategy for reaching peace and security in Sahel. First, let me thank Africa Center for Strategic Studies and Constitutional for Africa to provide this opportunity to the G5 Sahel countries representative. I will skip the origin of crises that are current in Sahel. I assume it is known today. Indeed, the Sahel is aware which challenges from food insecurity and terrorist-related security threat to the negative impact of climate change. To tackle these crises, it is important to have a holistic approach that brings together the political, security, and development dimensions, mostly in the vast section of Africa that include Sahel countries. Fighting crises in Sahel calls for more focus on sustainable development. I also prevent you from repeat what my predecessors have said. I would rather address the theme by talking about the three-board strategy that Malian authorities have put forth: political, development, and security. Political dimension, what you know, His Excellency Kabore said, Mali government signed peace agreement with the group Army, Semen, and Platform, institutional and proceed to institutional and political reform to improve the government. Mali has also made effort to strengthen democracy and the rule of law and to provide more special justice. In the security dimension, despite the expanding cuts of security actions responding to conflict, insecurity is escalated and spread across poorest border throughout the Sahel region. Clan groups in the Sahel countries of Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania, and Niger elite borders, and the historic Sahara-Sahel trade route are majority Muslim population further connect the region. But the Sahel nations are share many underlying destabilizing factors, both breeding and resulting from the evolving crisis in Mali. To respond with collective security concern, regional approach is required. This is the reason that Mali participated to the creation of Group 5 G5 Sahel, Joint Security and Collective development framework. To fight in sustainable and effective way, we require first and foremost that each country has a stronger, with well-trained and well-development troops that respond to the new security challenges. This global fight against violent extremism cannot be addressed solely by countries in the region. It calls for international cooperation that I appreciate the UN General Secretary calls for a better support to G-5 Sahel Joint Force from multilateral channel and bilateral assistance like that of US. Fighting against illicit circulation of weapons and drugs throughout the region, helping Libya to stabilize, are also of the effective fighting ISIS. The international community has a key role to play in dealing with these issues. From the side of Malian government, it was to rebuilding its inclusive army with the support of the partner last US. In peace agreement implementation, Mali proceeded for the establishment and CDR and CE and RRA sector reform acceleration DDR, the creation of the MOC, mechanism of operational coordination in Gao, Kidal, and registration of ex-combatants, the return and training of 300 ex-combatants from signatory movement of the agreement, formerly member of FAMAS, the National Force Security. With the escalation of the conflict in the center of the country, where the jihadists are raging, with the government has, in addition to political measures of social dialogue, proceed to a security mesh of zone of the army and security forces. It has also the extension of mandate of MINUSMA to the center. Today, exposed to the security challenge inherent in the context issue to under the role strongly marked by asymmetric threat of violence extremism and various manifestations, the Malian government has adopted the document of national policy of prevent and fight against violence, extremism, and terrorism. Moreover, of the major challenges in Malian crisis in the multitude of actors involving of the lack of coordination of their action. Also, it is very important that all the forces involved, FAMA, MINUSMA, and Barkhane, can work in synergy. In the development dimension, Sahel country is many fragility, including natural disease, a lack of educational opportunities, and fight employment among those under 25-year-old, a demographic that makes up 65% of this country's population. This development concern has added to the region precarious stability and at the same time compete with state-level security and economic issues, strongly to meet their population basic need. Sahel states are forward combined by the divergent interests, different and group, at rate and transborder crime and terrorism activity, depth acting 77% of gross domestic produce and the influx of refugees. In conclusion, on behalf of the Ambassador Nimaga, I would like to thank the U.S. authority for all their support, particularly in building capacity of our army and security forces and is a fight against terrorism. Sahel region is not only a connection of challenges. There are many opportunities in terms of natural resource and human potential that could boost development in the region. That is why we call on U.S. Private sector to consider investing in Mali. Return on investing is so high that it is kept secret from the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And there are a few people here who are part of something we call the Mali Affinity Group, which brings together the embassy, the diaspora, the NGOs, and the government agencies that are working in Africa to share information and ideas and coordinate the activities that are going on there. And I have the privilege of chairing that group, and would like to see something similar happening with all of the countries in the region, because I think by working together, we're able to do far more than we can independently. And Ibrahim is a key part of that group. He and the ambassador is always there and plays a very key role in it. And we really appreciate all that you and the ambassador do. And Alpha also, Ngote is a key part of that group. And we appreciate you being here and all that you do. With that, let's move on to Mauritania.
Thank you. I would like to say first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting us and allowing us to share our views with respect to the Sahel strategy. And I have to say that we are jealous with respect to the Mali Affinity Group. We would like to have one of Mauritania.
Let's talk.
Okay. I mean, our colleagues has went over what we call the main challenges with respect to the G-5 Sahel. I would like just to, I would say, raise an alarm with respect to the funding. Because for me, it is the key issue. We have established, we have launched the joint force, which has its quarters in Mauritania, and right now we are trying really to raise money in order to address the main challenges, because we understand that there is youth unemployment, we understand there is social and economic challenges, the energy, but all those aspects cannot be addressed if we don't have the funding. And for me, the lack of the funding is detrimental to the G-Force building up and working for its future operation. And denying the G5 Sahel a peacekeeping mandate is, for me, a risky bet. We need really to address that issue as soon as possible. Aside some, I would say, the political principles, without predictable and sustainable funding, the operational capacity of the G5 Sahel joint force will almost certainly suffer. Instead of taking the driving seat, the G5 countries may decide that the alliance is more trouble than it's worth. It's, I think it's a little bit stronger, but it could happen. If the G5 Sahel flounders, not only will the situation deteriorate, requiring the UN, the peacekeepers who are already there to do more at the other people's taxpayers' money, but the jihadist threat from West Africa will grow for us until it poses a security threat that the world cannot ignore. If that happens, the international community may regret that it failed to create a Sahelian-led peacekeeping mission when it had the chance. I'd like to end on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're getting some interesting perspectives on it that I think help all of us think it through and better understand the complexity and the dynamics of what's happening. We'll wrap up the opening comments with Ambassador Wafy from Niger. Mr. Ambassador.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Abdallah, I'm the ambassador of Niger to the United States. So I would like at the outset to thank you for being here this morning. Have this great opportunity to discuss an issue which is very close to our heart, strategies for peace and security. I'm not going to, in the interest of time, I will be very brief. I will just throw some food for thought. And I would like also to apologize for my very poor English because I'm a Francophone, so I may need a translator to express myself. But that being said, I would like to come back to the root causes of the prevailing situation in the Sahel region. He mentioned the crisis in Libya, but let me say, we are not part of the decision to remove Colonel Gaddafi and to destroy the Libyan state. It was a UN security mandate. We warned the international community saying, hey, you guys, we don't have any clue to remove Gaddafi, but be aware of the devastating impact if the Libyan state is destroyed. We're not understood, not heard. And even today, we strongly believe that there will be no peace in West Africa, in the Sahel region, without peace in Libya. And we are not part of the peace process in Libya. We are the neighboring countries, but we don't have our say in the negotiations, in the peace accord, in the peace process. So this is very concerning. Another issue is with regard to the terrorism in our region. What is the end state? What is the hidden agenda of all these groups? That's the question. Because all these terrorists, all these armed groups are foreign combatant, foreign armed groups. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Mujahideen, and all the others. Of course, they have their own proxies in our country. But they are foreign and they are foreigners. 10 years ago, we don't have any military presence in our region. Today, we have more than 10 foreign armies in our region, including the United States Army, the French Burkina operations, and many others. When the crisis erupted in Mali, what was the response of the international community? The UN Security Council, the deployment of MINUSMA, which is a peacekeeping operation. But it's a joke. And everybody knows that it's a joke. Because the mandate of MINUSMA is not designed to fight terrorism. A classic setting of UN peacekeeping operation cannot fight terrorism. We all agree on that. What was the response of the region? It was a military operation, the so-called G-5 Sahel operation, to fight and to address these threats that cannot be addressed by a classic peacekeeping operation. We asked for the UN Security Council to have access to the peacekeeping funds to support, to have a sustainable funding for this peacekeeping operation. It was denied. It was denied. Of course, we have the support of our partners, and we are very grateful for that, including the United States, French. We're very grateful. We have the support of these countries. But the situation continues to deteriorate and to expand beyond the Sahel region. Today, countries like Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Nigeria, Benin are at risk. So I think it's very important, it's worth mentioning that sooner or later, the situation, and you have to recognize that, despite all the ongoing efforts to contain this threat, the situation continues to deteriorate. What kind of response should we have? Just think about what kind of strategies. We do believe that, we have to put in place a comprehensive strategy for the Sahel and supported by the international community, including the UN Security Council, which will include military solutions, because we cannot have any development, any democracy, any kind of respect for human rights if we don't have peace and stability. So this stabilization plan for Sahel should include military solutions, good governance, human rights, democracy, women empowerment. Yes, but the one-size-fits-all solution, meaning the peacekeeping operation in Mali, is not working, cannot work, it's not going to work. Let me be clear. For this operation, we have $1 billion every year for MINUSMA, $1 billion. For the French force, Barkhane, roughly the same amount, 700 million euros. For the G-5 Sahel force, we requested less than 300 million to do the job, which cannot be done through the peacekeeping operation, meaning to address the terrorist threats and to put an end to the military operations against our countries. But we are not heard, we are not supported. So I think any strategy for the stabilization of Sahel should be a kind of multidimensional approach, which will include military solutions, support to the military armies. But yes, good governance, democracy, women empowerment. When I read this opening remarks, talking about rapid growth in violent extremism, nexus of criminal networks and illicit trafficking, but also the nexus between the security threats and the climate change. Look at what's happening in the region of Lake Chad. The last 30 years, this lake has lost more than 90% of its water resources. And according to credible sources, in the coming years, the 10% will also go. We have more than 40 million people living in this area. Farmers, fishers, all kinds of economic activities. Less than 70% of these 40 millions, they have less than 20 years. They are less than 20 years old. What is left? To join Boko Haram, to become terrorists, or to go to Agadez, to Libya, and either to end up in Europe or in the Mediterranean Sea. This is the only option left today. Our friend from Mali has mentioned the opportunities. Yes, when we talk about the strategy for Sahel, we only think and talk about the challenges. Nobody talks about the opportunities. Sahel is a land of opportunities. We have every kind of mineral resources. In my country, uranium, gold, oil, and in all these countries. But to be able to change the situation, to change the narrative, we need the support of the international community and to come up with a comprehensive plan and, to have the same approach to deal with ISIS in Iraq. We didn't send a peacekeeping operations. We sent NATO. You send your boys. They do the job, are finishing the job. That's what we need for Sahel, to support the countries, to have a kind of a coalition, and to remove this ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and all these bad guys, to remove them from the region. Otherwise, we will end up by, as he said, the whole region will collapse, and the consequences will be devastating. So in the interest of time, I will conclude and maybe have an opportunity to share our perspective and have questions and answers. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Wafy. I had a feeling you were going to shake things up a little bit. We've met. Really appreciate it. Thank all of the ambassadors. I have two questions that I'll put together because they're closely related. The moderator's prerogative to ask the first question, and then we'll open it up to the floor for your questions. But there's something that has just bothered me greatly over the years as I see insurgencies come along, and I hear that they are able to get young people to join in the insurgencies because the young people feel that their opportunities from out of the normal society, the normal political process and economic process, isn't providing them with the respect and the recognition and the opportunities that they need. So along comes an insurgency, and it does somehow give them the sense of purpose and opportunity to get things done. But that costs money. How is it that the insurgencies have enough money to provide opportunities for young people when the government doesn't? Where is that support coming from? How does that happen? I'd appreciate any comments any of you may have on that. And the other, and Ambassador Wafy made a brief reference to it, but I'd be interested in getting into it a little deeper, is just what do they want? What is the motivation? What is the outcome that the insurgents and the spoilers want? Is it a political outcome? Do they want political power? Is it driven by religion, by religious fervor? Or is it purely financial, that in the criminal activity to try to get more wealth? So if a few of you could comment very quickly on where the support comes from for the troublemakers and what it is that they want to get out of it. So I'd be interested in any comments that any of you may have on that.
Okay, I'll try.
All right.
Yeah, I think, as it has been said earlier, about 65% of the population in that region are, I think, less than 25 years old, more than 65%. So it's really a threat because the governments are not really, have not the means, try with their economic politics and employment, but honestly, it's not, we are not succeeding, and the education is not really responding to the labor market. So it's a problem. People have went to school, they have their PhDs, but unfortunately they cannot work. And we have people who come with a hidden agenda, which is not really unknown, because we don't know really honestly what is the agenda, the political, economic agenda, or even the religious agenda of those newcomers, the terrorists, the jihadists. Because what is sure, as the ambassador said earlier, they're not from the region. And they are financed by people who are not from the region. What is the agenda? We don't know, because it is really amazing, because the political context of that region, we've seen a lot of improvement as far as human rights are concerned, as far as women empowerment. But it is at that precise time that people are improving their good governments and also building up institution in order to establish democracy. It is at that precise time that we have this foreigners and these political people coming. I could have understand if that has occurred like in the 70s, 80s, where there is tyrannical dictators and there is no rule of law, there is no democracy, there is no human rights, and it's most of the time the continent in large was governed by just, I'd say, sorry to say that, but authoritarian regimes. But right now we've seen improvement in Mauritania. We just had our free and fair elections. And the first time there is a civilian government taking over, passing the power to another civilian government for the first time in our history. In Mali, same thing, in Niger, in Chad. There is a boiling up which is leading to democracy because people are requesting. And as I mentioned, it is at that precise time that we have these newcomers, these jihadists. They're not from the region, which is quite sure. Who are funding them, we don't know. What is quite sure, it's not our government who are funding them. So when they come, we have unemployment, high rate of unemployment. The youth is an easy target, an easy prey for this jihadists. They come and they give them, for instance, it's a $2,000. It's an equivalent of 2 or 3 years of their yearly income. So there is obviously a religious and brainwashing that is taking place. Okay, and we're going to take care of your family. You're going to join because these people are non-believers. They are not here taking care of your needs. They are here because of people put them in place, and they are those people who come. They exploit the resources, the multinational, and there is right now I would say the very big or very strong campaign against the multinationals. People are starting to demonstrate against the presence of those multinationals who are exploiting the mines, the natural resources.
Thank you for those comments. Let's get one more, and then we'll open it up to the audience. Master Wafy.
Let me just, with regard to my country, we have evidence, and there is no question about that, that many of the weapons, ammunitions of Boko Haram come from Libya. We have evidence. There is no question about that. The money, including money, because, as you know, they have their own stronghold in Libya, dealing with oil, having, $1 million of US dollars, providing support to all these sponsored proxies. This is the first thing. And I would like to recall here that, these groups are heavily armed because, to confront a national army, to be able to defeat in some battles the national armies, it means that it's not a terrorist it's not, no, they have their own armies. And to sustain an army, to sustain a military operations, you need to have a support. Without that, you cannot. These groups have the same weapon, the same means, military means, as our countries. So, sooner or later, we need to know where this comes from. Thank you.
That's why I asked the question. I hope we can get an answer to it someday. All right, let's take questions from the audience. Larry,
Lawrence Freeman. I'm a political economic analyst for Africa for about 30 years, and I visited Chad and Mali, and I recently was years ago, was on a canoe in Lake Chad. I've been working on these development projects. I agree a great deal with the ambassador from Niger on the 2011 decision by the Obama administration and those who advised him to overthrow Gaddafi. I think we're still suffering from that today. I think the larger question for the Sahel is, why haven't we had development for the last 20 or 30 years in the Sahel and the Sahara? Without infrastructure, there is no development. And we could have done this. We can make the desert green. We've done it in the United States. Right now, in the Lake Chad Basin, we're working on a program to bring water to the Lake Chad Basin through Transaqua. This has been President Buhari and the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, have agreed to raise $50 billion for this water project. These are the type of projects of infrastructure we need. There have to be a military-like top-down decision to do this, and it has to have support from the international community to do these kinds of projects, which are not piecemeal by country, but are region and transcontinental. The Transaqua project to bring water to the Lake Chad Basin would transform the basin and would also transform the Great Lakes region and the Lake Chad region. So I would say, can we get a demand at this UNGA coming up, where President Buhari in Nigeria will be the president of the UNGA, Tijani, the ambassador. And there's a commitment for these development programs, but we have to force them through. We've spent billions on military security. It has not worked. We need development, and we need this kind of approach, and I would like to know if there's any responses. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Who would like to respond and comment on the inadequate, I'll put it that way, the inadequate, particularly infrastructure and social and economic development in the Sahel, and obviously that would be part of the underlying factors driving the violence that's going on right now. Anybody want to comment on that?
Merci. Je voudrais apporter peut-être quelques éléments de formation par rapport à ce qui vient d'être dit.
I'd like to add a couple things to what was just said.
Effectivement, dans mon intervention, j'avais déjà évoqué le fait qu'il y a aujourd'hui un certain nombre de projets qui ont déjà été élaborés.
I alluded to the fact during my presentation that a certain number of projects have already begun.
C'est-à-dire aujourd'hui au niveau du G-5 Sahel, dont son secrétariat permanent, il y a un certain nombre de projets qui ont été élaborés et qui sont contenus dans le programme d'investissement prioritaire.
The G-5 Sahel Permanent Secretariat has developed a certain number of programs, and these are included in its program for priority investments.
Il est vrai qu'il y a des projets qui concernent les États, pris individuellement.
There are certainly projects that are aimed at individual countries,
Mais beaucoup sont des projets régionaux
but several are regional level projects.
Qui concernent deux ou plusieurs pays.
Normally, they concern at least 2 or 3 of the countries.
En ce qui concerne, par exemple, le lac Tchad,
Concerning the Lake Chad Basin,
il y a 5 pays
there are 5 countries.
membres de la Commission du bassin du lac Tchad.
There are 5 countries that are members of the Commission of the Lake Chad Basin.
Et la plupart des projets qui sont en liaison avec cette zone sont des projets régionaux.
And most of the projects in that region are regional ones.
Il en est de même de l'autorité du bassin du Niger.
And that's also true for the authority of the Niger Basin.
Là aussi, ce sont des projets régionaux pour la plupart.
There again, most projects are regional ones.
Et qui attendent donc un financement.
And those also require financing.
Et je crois que nous prenons bonne note en ce qui concerne le financement donc, déjà annoncé pour le transfert des eaux du Lubangui vers le lac Tchad.
We've noted the financing of The project you mentioned on the transfer of water from Lubangui towards
C'est un vieux projet qui date d'aujourd'hui peut-être 17 ans,
it's a almost 17-year-old project,
mais qui n'a pas toujours rencontré l'attention particulière des partenaires techniques et financiers
but it hasn't always
des
garnered
pays
the
membres de
attention
la Commission du bassin du lac Tchad.
of those that finance and are members of the Lake Chad Commission.
Et comme l'ambassadeur Wafy l'a dit tout à l'heure,
And as Ambassador Wafy said just a few minutes ago,
autour du lac Tchad vivent environ 30 millions de populations
there are 30 million people who live around the Lake Chad area
qui vivent des eaux et de l'apport du lac Tchad.
and they live off the lake's water.
C'est une zone sylvo-agro-pastorale.
It's an agro-pastoral region.
Aujourd'hui, avec l'assèchement du lac Tchad,
But as the lake dries,
les possibilités donc pour ces populations se réduisent.
the possibilities for activity for these populations diminish.
Et à l'assèchement du lac Tchad est venu s'ajouter
With the drying of the lake,
l'insécurité créée par Boko Haram.
insecurity from Boko Haram is an added.
Voilà un peu les quelques éléments que je voulais dire.
That's what I wanted to add.
Thank you very much. Let's see if we have any other questions from the audience. Mel, did you want to say something?
I want to thank the diplomats, first off, for a very stimulating discussion here. My question has to do with unity. How are the Sahelian countries working together? If something happens in Niger, are you concerned about it in Burkina Faso? If so, how are you working together? What is the nature of the collaboration?
Just go ahead.
I think that the first thing I want to stress is the fact that all this situation of terrorism occurred when all our countries are very, very feeble, very weak in terms of economic, in terms of technology, in terms of education, in terms of knowledge. So it's something that I think we didn't take care for a long while because for us, living in, how can I say, with the future view really didn't exist. Because if you take the case of the population, it's my own concern that the population is a very, very, is a threat for our country. The population could only be a strength for a country if this population is skilled, if this population has knowledge. Unfortunately, our different governments, I think that they are all the time torn between all the needs of this population in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of socio-economic development, infrastructure. So they don't have, and the economic is not doing well. So they don't have enough resources to face all this. So for me, the first thing to do is to try to have a strong solution for this problem of population, educate people so that they will reduce, because the level of birth in the family are is very, very high. The second point is that I think that we came from all the same, how can I say, from our independence in 1960. We have the same way to deal with the economic problem. Each country wants to work individually. So I think that the limit exists today, so that we are now trying, and it's a kind of appeal, we are not trying to work together to find solution. And we have some projects. I would like to take the case of the MCC implemented with the United States to say that now, after like the individual compact in each country, they have decided to have regional compact. So in the term of like infrastructure of road, in terms of energy, they are now trying to work to link the countries together and to, how can I say, to integrate the economy. So I think that it's necessary to go in this type of view to integrate the economy, because each country individually can, how can I say, overcome or tackle the difficulties we are facing now. So we should work, we should change our paradigm about how to face our challenges in the future.
Thank you very much. I think we're going to get a couple of quick comments from ambassadors from Mauritania and Niger. So we'll see.
So yes, we're working together. We are a part of many regional organizations like UMOA, ECOWAS, and many others for the military operations. We have set up a joint military force, the G-5 Sahel force. We are dealing, when it comes to security, border security challenges, we are working together. We have many other, regional projects that have been implemented already, and we are expecting to have more funds to have these projects implemented. So we are not working separately. Of course, we are trying to have this kind of integration. And the good news is that, even at the African Union level, we have now the free trade zone. So it's not new. We are making progress, but we need to be supported. This is the whole issue. We need to be supported, and when it comes to regional integration, I can tell you, West Africa is the most advanced compared to the Great Lakes region or to the SADC region. No, we have the ECOWAS, free movement of people and goods. Now we have free movement, we have the same currency in all these countries. In Burkina Faso, in Chad, in Mali, we share the same economy. So we are making progress towards the integrations, but yet, I agree, a lot has to be done.
Thank you. Ambassador Mamadou.
He jumped on me and he tried to, okay, no problem. Yeah. He has summarized what the adequate response that we are really putting in place.
Can you hold the microphone a little closer? There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, we have put in place all those agreements, convention, in order to mutualize our efforts. And especially with the security concern, I think probably it's the one you are alluding to. It's the answer is the cross-border joint force. We have put in place 5,000 soldiers who are ready to combat, ready to address the issue of the threats that's coming from the jihadists. But the problem is the funding. The funding is still lacking. There are partners, the United States in the bilateral level, Germany, France, Luxembourg, Finland has created what we call an alliance in order to support. All those answers are really the key in order to really mutualize our efforts and address the issue of the threat as far as security is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have time for one more question. Right in the middle. Yep.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Aisita Chiam. I'm from the Malian diaspora. I wanted just to follow up on something very important that Ambassador Wafy brought up about the funding for G5 Sahel. How come the peacekeeping mission of MINUSMA has $1 billion budget and then Barkhane 700 million euros, and then we still have problems appropriating some of that money for the G5 Sahel. Since the United States and France and all those people, strong partners, are behind us 100%, can you elaborate a little bit on really what is the issue of not getting some of those funds to the G5 Sahel? That's my first question. The second question is, as you know, the president of Niger was just visiting Mali a couple of days ago, and with President Ibeka, they brought up some of the challenges they have for the terrorist fight in the region. Your president mentioned that Kidal is one of the issues, and I would like to have your perspective on what is it exactly that Kidal is considered a sanctuary for the terrorists, and despite all the strong partnerships that we've had for the past years, nothing is being done about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Two-part question. Who would like to take it on?
Yes. Well, I don't have the answer, but the facts, MINUSMA budget is $1 billion US every year. This mission was deployed, if I'm not mistaken, in 2013. So after 6 years, $6 billion US, we should assess the situation and see the progress made so far. There is little achieved so far. When it comes to Barkhane, it's the French force supporting the Sahel region in addressing these military threats. But despite all these efforts, and we are very grateful to the United Nations for MINUSMA, we are grateful for Barkhane, for the US cooperation. But the fact is, the situation is deteriorating. So at some point, we need to reflect on how to make this effective, efficient, and for the taxpayers, because the peacekeeping funds, it's about $8 billion US every year. And out of that, I think the US is contributing for more than 26%. So we should maybe at some point divert these funds if really we want to make the difference on the ground, to have these fundings going to fund for those who are able to do the jobs. Because I stick to that, and I insist, a UN peacekeeping operation cannot deal with a terrorist threat. It is not designed for that. They are not equipped for that. The mandate is not for that. And we should reflect who's going to do the job. Because if we don't remove the terrorist threat, we cannot achieve any sustainable development. Thank you. With regard now to Meneka, as part of the peace accord, Meneka is not under the control of the Malian authorities. It is under the control of the armed groups. So it's becoming a stronghold, and we have evidence. Those who are attacking my countries, they come from Kidal. They come from Meneka. Those who killed the 5 Green Berets, the American Green Berets, are coming from the same area. They are the same who are targeting our army and are killing our people. So this is why we say that, you cannot be part of the peace accord on one hand, in the morning, and during the daytime, you become a terrorist group conducting terrorist operations. So we need to be clear for that. And we are going to raise this issue in the Security Council, because starting from the 1st of January, we will be sitting as a non-permanent member in the council, and we will voice our concern, and we will stick to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If anybody on the panel has anything you just have to bring up, let's do it, and then we do need to wrap this up, though, so we can move on. Anybody have any urgent final comments? Sure, go ahead.
I just want to add some view on the financing of the G5 Sahel. I think that is very critical now. We have a lot of announcement, but nothing in, I can say, in our account. I think that it's time maybe to discuss with all the partners to see what is going wrong. Because our weakness point is the fact that we don't have the funding. So it's like the management, I can say, rules and the principle in the G5 Sahel is not, I can say, agreed by all the partners. So I think that it's time for us to discuss with the others to see what could be accepted by all of them so that maybe we'll get the funding. I don't want to go in more detail, but I think that the situation is very clear because when you discuss with the American authorities, it's clear that the way the organization is maybe leading or founding is not acceptable for the United States. That's why they refuse that. We put, how can I say, G5 founding under the Chapter 7 of the UN. So personally, I think that we should have to try to discuss more, to negotiate with the others, and try to find a good, how can I say, managerial rules and good principle accepted by all the population. So all the partners. Coming to the Kidal, I should talk about Kidal. We have Kidal, Timbuktu, and Gao. As I said in my presentation, those regions belong to Tuaregs. So when they came back from Libya, they are interested to have the land, but unfortunately, I think that they decided to have to fight for their own independence. That is not. I think that is not fair. That's why I say that we need also in this part to have negotiation with them. We have already signed an agreement in Algiers, but we should go to the table and discuss in the details and find a solution. Because I'm sure that if we find a solution in this region, we'll succeed to down south the effect of the terrorists in our region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe there is movement in that direction, but much work left to be done. Let's thank our panelists here. We'll take a break for about 10 to 15 minutes. We'll start up again at 11 o'clock with the expert panel on priorities. Thank you all very, very much.